It was a regular day for most New Yorkers on December 4, 2024. But for Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, an American health insurance company based in Minnesota, it would be his last. An early winter morning in New York City on that day, most of the city was gearing up for the annual Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting, but the day took a shocking turn when a targeted attack unfolded in the heart of Manhattan. Around 6:45 a.m., Brian Thompson was walking to the New York Hilton Midtown, where the health insurance giant was holding its investor conference. Unbeknownst to him, a person dressed in black with a gray backpack had been scoping out the area, waiting patiently for several minutes on West 54th Street. Surveillance cameras captured the person standing still, ignoring the commuters passing by, and locking his attention on Thompson as he walked on the opposite side of the street. The person then calmly crossed the street, closing the distance between him and Thompson, and without hesitation, he raised his firearm and fired multiple shots. Thompson was struck in the calf and back, collapsing to the ground. Witnesses described the attack as swift and calculated. The shooter, appearing calm and collected, adjusted his weapon after it seemed to jam, and fired again as he moved closer to his target. One bystander, a woman standing nearby, fled in terror as the shots rang out. Thompson barely had time to turn and face his attacker before succumbing to his injuries. The chilling moment was all caught on surveillance footage, leaving investigators with a clear trail of evidence. For days, the nation anxiously followed the search for the man responsible for the shocking murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Surveillance footage and witness accounts painted a clear picture of the gunman, but his identity remained elusive. That all changed on December 9, 2024, when a routine morning at McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, took a dramatic turn. At a corner table in the restaurant, a man sat quietly, wearing a blue medical mask and working on a laptop. Beside him was a backpack, ordinary at first glance, but it would soon reveal extraordinary significance. A customer in the McDonald's, glancing at the man, felt a spark of recognition. The face, partially hidden by the mask, matched the photos of the suspected killer that had been circulating across news outlets for days. Trusting their instincts, the customer alerted an employee, who quickly called the police. Minutes later, officers arrived and approached the man. Calmly, they asked him to pull down his mask. What happened next was a moment of stark realization. As soon as the officers saw his face, they knew they had found their man. It was Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old University of Pennsylvania graduate, now wanted for one of the year's most shocking crimes. Mangione initially tried to maintain his cover. He handed over a New Jersey ID, one of several fake documents he had on him. But his facade began to crumble when officers pressed him further. When asked if he had recently been in New York, Mangione froze. His hands shook, his voice faltered, and the tension in the room was palpable. Officers noted the drastic change in his demeanor, proof they believed they had the right person. Realizing the game was up, Mangione eventually admitted his identity. When asked why he had lied, his response was simple yet revealing. "I clearly shouldn't have," he said. Before he became the center of a nationwide manhunt, he was seen as a young man with limitless potential. At 26 years old, Mangione had an impressive resume, a University of Pennsylvania graduate with degrees in engineering and computer science, praised for his intellect and ambition. To those who knew him, he was a driven individual with a future as bright as his academic accolades. But beneath the surface, something darker was brewing. The 26-year-old Ivy League graduate, former high school valedictorian, a son of a wealthy and influential Maryland family. Mangione's life began with privilege and potential. He graduated at the top of his class from the prestigious Gilman High School in Baltimore in 2016, earning valedictorian honors for maintaining a high GPA. He captained the school's robotics team and won academic scholarships, all while cultivating a reputation as a kind, hardworking student. From there, he attended the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned dual degrees in engineering, a Master of Science in Computer and Information Science, and a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with a minor in mathematics. Mangione thrived academically, working as a teaching assistant and founding a video game developing club during his time at Penn. In the summer of 2019, he was a head counselor for Stanford University's Pre-Collegiate Studies program, further solidifying his image as a rising star. After leaving Penn in 2020, Mangione's life seemed to go in another direction. According to his LinkedIn, he worked as a data engineer at TrueCar, but the company confirmed that his employment ended in 2023. Between January 2022 and April of that year, 2022, Luigi lived in Surfbreak, a co-living community in Honolulu, Hawaii. Back pain was a major source of his frustration and pain, as he couldn't surf anymore. Surfing and hiking, activities he hoped to embrace, only exacerbated a chronic back injury of his. His frustration grew, and by April 2022, Mangione left Surfbreak, citing his physical limitations. Members of the community noted a noticeable change in him. He returned briefly to Hawaii in 2023, starting a book club with controversial reading material, which caused discomfort among members. Some of them ended up leaving the book club due to that. Mangione's online activity also began reflecting his growing disillusionment. His Goodreads account showed he read works like Industrial Society in his future, by Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, as well as books critiquing the healthcare industry. On X, formerly known as Twitter, he reposted quotes like, "It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." Before Luigi Mangione's life took a dark turn, there were already signs of trouble that worried those close to him. Family and friends noticed a growing sense of isolation in the months leading up to the event. His social media presence dwindled, and posts on X from concerned friends painted a picture of someone who had cut himself off from the world. "Nobody has heard from you in months," one post from October read, while another from July pleaded, "I don't know if you're okay or just in a super isolated place and have no service, but I haven't heard from you in months." When Luigi Mangione was arrested, investigators found a handwritten manifesto that offered insight into his growing resentment towards corporate America. According to Joseph Kinney, the chief of detectives, the document expressed ill will towards corporate America, though specific details were initially withheld. Two law enforcement officials familiar with the document's contents revealed that it specifically criticized healthcare companies, accused them of prioritizing profits over patient care. For Mangione, this manifesto wasn't just a collection of grievances, it was a culmination of years of frustration and disillusionment, laying the groundwork for the events that followed. Now, setting the documentary-style commentary aside for a second, I want to give you my 2 cents on this entire story. First of all, this has been one of the most talked about stories on social media over the last week. And Luigi Mangione has, as of today, been captured by law enforcement. The response to this entire situation isn't exactly what you would expect. Or maybe it is, considering the circumstances. I say that for 2 different reasons. Number 1, someone was at the end of the day brutally murdered. When it comes to death of any kind, I like to approach these types of topics with a more respectful tone. I want to make it very clear, I do not condone any type of violence, nor do I celebrate the death of another human being. Now, with that little disclaimer out the way, we need to talk about the real side of this entire topic, because healthcare companies and the damage they've caused to real lives is a real conversation we need to have. Do I feel sorry for the families who are going to be paying the price in terms of emotional pain? Yes, I do. However, when it comes to a story involving one of the shot callers at a healthcare company, we're talking about the CEO here. So in this case, the shot caller, a company that has ruined countless of lives. Just being brutally honest, I really don't have any tears to give. And this seems to be the general stance on this entire conversation. From what I've noticed, most people are leaning towards not only feeling indifferent about the victim in this case, but also celebrating Luigi Mangione as a hero. Social media in a way thrives off of meme culture, especially when it comes to viral stories like this. And that's why tweets like these have become the general consensus. And this guy is supposed to represent a model. He's a, I guess, traditionally good looking guy. And the screenshot itself says, "No, don't get caught by the police, you're so sexy." And then we have tweets like these right here, which is a picture of Tony Soprano. And the caption of this photo is, "In this house, Luigi Mangione is a hero, end of story." Now, the funny memes aside, there's been a lot of people coming out the woodwork, sharing their experiences with United Healthcare. I came across this one TikTok video from a mother, and she shared a horrifying experience she had with United Healthcare involving her and her baby. I want you to check out this clip right here.
Let me just start off this video by saying I do not condone violence by any means, but let's talk about what happened today with the United Healthcare CEO. Assuming this guy has a family, no one deserves this. But as a mom who was 9 months pregnant, sitting in the emergency room with my 1-year-old baby, being told she had a giant brain tumor that was causing her brain to essentially swell out of her head. She sat in the hospital for 3 days. She needed to be transferred to New York City so she could have emergency brain surgery. And instead, we sat in the hospital for 3 days because United Healthcare refused to approve the transfer via ambulance from the hospital where we live to another state. And at that point, I was ready to just get in my car and take her there myself, but United told us if we left the hospital by our own will and it wasn't via ambulance, they were not going to cover her at the next hospital we went to. And I vividly remember being on the phone with United Healthcare for days and days, 9 months pregnant, about to give birth alone while my other baby was sitting in a hospital room. And again, this isn't to condone violence whatsoever. All I'm saying is that I do not doubt for a second what the motive of that suspect was.
Now, I don't have to sit here and repeat her words because you heard the woman. That's a real story from a real person. Someone who got treated like, well, their situation didn't matter to this healthcare company. Her baby had a brain tumor, practically on the verge of dying. And look at how they treated her. Stories like this hit home because, this is not just about numbers or policies. It's about real lives being impacted in devastating ways. Usually when you hear stories of people committing acts of violence, 9 times out of 10, it's something you can't even begin to wrap your mind around. Think about the countless of stories I've covered on this channel involving rappers committing crimes that sometimes lead to the death of another human being. You can't really understand what's going through their minds or what's driving them to do these things, especially when it's stories where they're just blatantly, killing someone. And yes, there's a conversation to be had about the socioeconomical issues that come at play, but for this video, we're not going to talk about that. But a lot of these situations, let's just be honest, they're chaotic, senseless, and hard to process. But then you come across a story like this, Luigi Mangione, someone who committed a crime I don't condone, but when you take a step back and look at it logically, you start to see the bigger picture. These companies, like the one he targeted, have done so many unjustifiable things to real human beings, all while profiting billions of dollars from the pain and suffering of other human beings. Aside from that, let's take their use of artificial intelligence. United Healthcare has faced significant backlash for its deployment of AI in processing insurance claims, particularly for how it's been tied to the denial of coverage. One of the most notable examples is the implementation of an AI algorithm called NH-Predict, developed by Navi Health, a company United Healthcare's Optum division acquired in 2020. This algorithm was designed to predict the necessary duration of patient care in post-acute settings by analyzing health records and comparing them to similar cases. While its purpose was to streamline care decisions, its application has drawn criticism for prioritizing cost-cutting over patient welfare. So this makes you think about the system that created this situation in the first place. Would Luigi Mangione actually have done this if human beings were treated fairly by these corporations? The answer is probably no. There wouldn't be a reason for him to do it. The system wouldn't have created the level of anger, frustration, and disillusionment that drove him to commit this act. And again, I'm not condoning what he did, I'm just sharing the real aspect of this conversation. There are countless of people who've suffered, even died at the hands of these companies, but you don't hear about it because it's hidden beneath the layers of bureaucracy and profit margins. These aren't the stories that make headlines. Instead, they're buried behind policies, denial letters, and cold, calculated decisions that prioritize money over human lives. I don't like either outcome, but it's hard to look at what this man did as a completely evil act. To me, this feels more like a response to evilness. When a system drives a young person like Luigi Mangione, someone with so much potential, so much to live for, to this breaking point, what does this say about the system itself? It forces you to ask the hard questions. How much suffering can people endure before they snap? And when the actions of massive corporations prioritize profits over lives, who's really creating the conditions for tragedies like this to happen? You tell me. It doesn't excuse what he did, but it makes you think about the larger forces at play. Overall, Luigi Mangione got caught and he's probably going to spend the rest of his life behind bars. But what I can't help but wonder is how this type of reaction, a crime rooted in frustration and resentment, is going to ripple through society. Will it spark meaningful change, or will it just be another headline that fades away without addressing the deeper issues? Acts like this are extreme, but they come from very real frustrations that so many people feel. How long can these systems continue to operate without addressing the harm they cause before more people start reacting in ways that force society to confront them? Overall, it is a tragic situation in general, but it raises questions that can't be ignored. It doesn't justify what he did, but it makes you think about the system that created the situation in the first place. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it till the end, that means that you enjoyed this video. So how about drop a like on this video? I appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, my name is Blacky Speaks, and subscribe if you're new here. Welcome to the family. Anyway, what you guys think about this entire topic, Luigi Mangione, and why he did it? I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a lot of different insights in the comment section below. So you guys let me know what you think about this topic, and yeah, I'll catch you in the comment section below. But most importantly of all, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace. I'm out.